Smoking causes cancer.
This is Bankura, a district in West Bengal whose parched red soil prays for rain throughout the year. With its red dry soil and green shal grove, Bankura once gave birth to a flourishing folk culture. Also, the classical music, both in the vocal form as well as instrumental music of Bishnupur Gharana, reached a dizzy height during the time of Gopeshwar Bandyopadhyay and other stalwarts. The old heritage may have dried up considerably, but it is far from dead. These moss-grown temples still retain fine examples of the terracotta art of this region. Behind much of the noble and elusive simplicity of Jamini Roy's art lies the rich tradition of his native home, Bankura. Where he was born in the middle of April 1887 at Beliatur village. Jamini Roy was born in this house at Beliatur. It was these simple village craftsmen, the potters, weavers, carpenters who made puja images, the dolls and toys, and who painted on the scrolls and pots. It was they who aroused in young Jamini his first interest in form and design. Watching these people at work, he grew up in free intimacy with them. The passion for painting got him very young indeed, as Jamini's broad-minded father, Ram Tarun Roy, a well-to-do landowner, agreed to send his 16-year-old son to the Government School of Art in Calcutta, probably because of his own deep interest in art. When Jamini Roy joined the art school, Abanindranath Tagore was its vice principal and was the head of the Indian art department. In the meantime, Abanindranath succeeded in offering a viable Indian alternative to Western academism. Later, Abanindranath's style became known as Bengal School. But Jamini did not go to Abanindranath. Instead, he enrolled in the less respectable academic section, probably to earn his living by this skill. Like most academic schools of the period, it was a moribund institution, existing in neglect of all vital art movements of its day. This, however, does not deny that its tuition had a certain value for a boy whose innate gift of craftsmanship was in need of discipline. Jamini adapted himself quickly to the new style, learning to draw classical nudes and to paint in oils. The encouragement and appreciation from Principal Percy Brown formed the primary asset of Jamini Roy in his early life. But before he took a diploma, he quietly left the school and quickly earned success as an able painter of portraits in oil. This brilliant self-portrait was done at the time of his fame as a portrait painter. When Jamini Roy saw comparative affluence, but not happiness. It gave him a living, but gave him no life. Between the desire for self-expression and the monotony of his routine work, the gap widened every day. until the traditional craftsmen of his village home and the terracotta figurines of Bakura and Bishnupur moved his soul. In Calcutta, the art of lithography, in which from time to time he participated for a living, was also a source of inspiration. Kalighat painting, which revolved round Kalighat Temple of Calcutta, was popular among the pilgrims. Its subject matters were either religious or social scandal of the day. As these pictures depict the illicit relationship between the Mahanta of Tarokeshwar and Elokeshi, a married woman, and the ultimate tragedy of Elokeshi being killed by her aged husband. Jamini Roy was interested not in its subject matter, but in its artistic technique. From the folk paintings of Kalighat, he learnt his characteristically firm and bold sweep of lines. His mastery of enclosing human form in one vital sweep might have been borrowed from the Kalighat paintings. But it probably had more to do with his rigorous sketching habits continuing from his art school days. The moment of decision had arrived. Around 1920, Jamini abandoned portrait painting, preferring poverty and art, in spite of the fact that he had now married Anandumai and there were several children to bring up. As he, with his artistic conscience, could not conform to any of the two current trends, the Western academism, insipid and decadent, and the so-called Bengal school, cold and fragile. But possibly still more significant was his realization that an artist can only grow in his own milieu. Various have been the phases of this quest for pure form. Even when he was still working in oils, unusually simple themes crept into the frames of his paintings. And when, at last, he discarded oils in favor of tempera, the illusion of a third dimension was also rejected. Jamini Roy gradually learned to unlearn all his academic discipline. Then followed the practice of an austere economy in his use of both color and line. Water-based tempera color had thus opened up for him a horizon of new possibilities. But was it, thought the artist, an equally suitable medium for expressing the European technique? As a result, an extraordinary series of landscape paintings were created.
We used to see a lot of an old family friend and a great artist, Mr. Atul Bose. One day in the course of conversation, he took us to the house of Jamini Roy in Bagbajar. Great artist like him, he was extremely kind to us, made us sit down and chatted with us for a little while and so on. And then he said, you go around my studio. He had lots of pictures there. And then he himself came round with us. And he picked out this picture and that one there from, they were stacked against the walls. He picked them out and he said, as you have come as a young couple, newly married, please accept this as my personal wedding present to both of you.
Jamini Roy's close association with the theatre world of Calcutta gave him considerable knowledge of design and pattern. For more than 20 years, it remained his only interest apart from painting. It was an important influence for Jamini Roy because it helped him with a sense of reality and illusion. The uncompromising struggle with himself gained further momentum after he recognized the lack of sophisticated technique in the simple bold lines scrawled unconsciously by his 5-year-old son Omeo, who later became a fine painter and the great father's dedicated studio worker. Representation was no longer his aim, but transformation. Rich and inexhaustible was the choice of subjects. Color also returned in full glory. The tribes and sects of his native district, the village people at work and at play. And animals, gay and colorful, in the wondrous abstraction of the toy makers. The unifying force behind his new form and design came from ancient Indian myths to which he now turned for inspiration. Consider, for instance, the exquisite panels on Krishna theme. Also note with care the famous panels from the Ramayana. The tenderness, tranquility and compassion of these panels based on Indian themes were conveyed with equal mastery in the later studies on the symbolic life of Christ. From time to time, Jamini Roy tried his hand at wood sculpture and clay modeling. And always pursued his interest in the diverse artistic techniques of the other countries. the comprehensive tempera medium withstood the test of reproducing almost anything, from the elaborate gods and goddesses of Tibet and China to a self-portrait of Van Gogh. The Byzantine mosaics and the Russian icons were also included. Even Picasso was not left out. When Tagore started to paint in the 1930s, he was 70 years old. But his fame as a poet overshadowed his painterly achievements for a very long time. Jamini Roy was one of the very few who first recognized Tagore as our first modern painter. Jamini Roy wrote about Tagore's paintings. While observing the man painted by Rabindranath, I do not feel it will droop for a moment or swing with the wind. I clearly see that the man has weight and a strong backbone, that Rabindranath's painting is powerful. It's because of this power of the bone and his ability to create rhythm. His protest is against everything, including the entire tradition of sophisticated Indian art and the Orientalist art, pale, decorative style of Bengal school. Tagore was too happy to write, through letters, his reaction to Jamini Roy. And he visited his house personally. By that time, after years of agonizing struggle, Jamini Roy the artist had arrived. In the 1930s, an important section of Indian opinion came out in support of him. Important among them was a small group of Bengali poets and intellectuals. One of them was poet Bishnu Dev, who had tirelessly immersed himself in Jamini Roy's art for nearly 40 years. After the Second World War, Jamini Roy shifted from his rented house in North Calcutta and built his own studio in the less congested southern part of the city. His new home again became a favorite haunt for friends and art lovers, with their beloved Jaminita around. Like the old days in the old house. Jamini Roy's capacity for work never waned. The last 20 years, between 1950 and 1970, were marked by an astonishing volume and variety of work. Never having the heart to throw anything away. The most interesting aspect of these experiments was that he never abandoned any specific style completely. He went back and forth, tried mix and match, adding style after style. For example, he painted landscape throughout his life. After 1950, in his search for a means of expression, the unbroken smoothness of his lines and color seemed to have reached a point where further exploration was not possible. Jamini Roy went one step further and decided to break his lines and churn the texture of his surfaces. Large patches of color came now to fill the entire surface. use of rough mat, woven strips of palm leaf, or supple paperboard as painting surface were the last steps to take. In 1970, he was 83 years old. Age had begun to catch up with him. Failing health prevented him from doing any work. But sit in his place of work he must. And make a feeble effort to paint. But the fingers will not move. And the eyes will now play unkind tricks. Yet, straight away, he would start painting Christ's Last Supper. The theme he had done a number of times in the past. The basic drawing would be complete on a rough surface. And now, the color was to come with all their splendor. But the mingling never got going. The Last Supper remained unfinished. Phlegm had settled upon his chest, causing pneumonia. The painter survived the first attack. The second attack proved extremely severe. But he surprised the doctors by eluding death again. The end came in 1972, on the 24th of April, the month he was born, 85 years earlier.